think the worst thing that can happen to you after having the first afternoon slot, because people are asleep, is having the first slot after a party. So I get that, but thank you for showing up. I think most of you are here already. Last night, I enjoyed myself very much. By talking to you, I got to see that the word impact that you've chosen for the event is really spot on. So I can really see that people are trying to make an impact into their businesses, impact into their careers as well. Why not? Today, as I was preparing, because presenters need to prepare, we do some vocal exercises. I thought, how can I prepare my audience? Yeah, when we start the day, when we start my speech, I need to be a bit egoistic about this. And then I thought about my favorite word. I don't know if you guys have a favorite word, but my favorite word is wonder. And if you look at the word wonder, it's a feeling of amazement about something beautiful, something unknown, or something remarkable. And I want you to put for this session and for the day these lenses of wonder. Because today we're going to be looking at the future of banking. And I'm not talking about 50 years time from now when your granddaughter might be marrying a robot, or when money has no use, yeah, because there's so much abundance in the world that we don't need money anymore. I'm talking about a 5 years horizon. So in this 5 years horizon, this is actually starting to happen already. So it's something that you need to look at, and we're going to connect this with the moves that you need to make today. But before we get started, let's take a break, and let's think about the past. And if we think about the pandemic, and we think about banking, we can see how indispensable banking has been. So we really helped through the containment phase, and we helped through the recovery phase by providing loans, by providing essential payments that had to be done. So that's really good. However, in 5 years' time, we need to think, how can our bank remain indispensable then? Because things are changing, there's new competitive forces that are coming into play, new competitors, new customer expectations, challenges on profitability. So today we're going to be looking at this. And at this point of the year, we're ending the year. As executives, you might be busy juggling different priorities. Or you might be feeling constrained, my core banking system or my budgets in IT, or overwhelmed by the current conditions, yeah, with inflation, recession looming. So under these conditions, it's very difficult to build a vision. You might be thinking your CIO wants to do something, your CEO wants to do something else, people in regulation, something different. And if you look at this slide, you're pointing in different directions. And the problem with this is that your view is from inside out. So what we're trying to do today is apply the opposite, the reverse. What if you didn't know about all of these constraints? What if we start from the outside in? And how are we going to achieve this? I'm going to use my special friend Fatima to help us. It's really important to start thinking about the customers, and we're going to do a very representative example, but this is something that you can also do when you get back into the office internally in order to create a cohesive vision. So let's talk a little bit about Fatima. So Fatima is a mother, she's a wife, she's a hard worker. Fatima has her own business. She used to work in corporate, growing through the ladder, but then she started working on her father's inherited business in manufacturing. She's also an investor in causes. She cares about the environment, she cares about empowering women and small SMEs in her community. And this, Fatima, could be very similar to you in terms of her banking needs. So let's have a look at what are her priorities. It's important for her to support her family, So she has to pay loads of bills, and this takes a lot of time. She needs to queue up. She needs to use different apps, cards, bank transfers. Takes a lot of time and a lot of stress. Is she doing properly? Probably not the best that she could do it. In her business, she's trying to grow her business. So she would like to automate things. Still here, there's a lot of admin. There's a lot of inefficiencies that she can see. Finally, she wants to make an impact in the world. So when she's making investments, she wants them to have a big impact. But right now, they're not really having that. And if you look at these three chevrons, you might be thinking, she's a customer for your banks as a retail customer, as a commercial banking customer, and as a wealth customer. So let's try to have a look at a bit about the future, how things could be around her priorities. So if we look at how she needs to bank in order to support her family, we're looking at Fatima being happy to share her data in the future, in 5 years' time. But why is she sharing her data? So there's been a lot of talk, a lot of movement around open banking. So consolidating data from different banking relationships to create one view. But this is not enough, and companies are trying to go one step further here. And we're talking of contextual banking, yeah? So it's incorporating data from other industries in order to really try to solve problems. So it's great if I get a bill from my supermarkets and the artificial intelligence is thinking, hey, this supermarket might be cheaper than this one. But what if we have all of the line items of your groceries? That can really make a difference in giving you real insights. So that's what we're talking with contextual banking, getting data from other sources. She wants advice. She wants a bank to be a bit more than a bank, to be a partner in this journey, which is her life, which is solving her problems, getting her into a peaceful state. And she wants the relationship to be flexible. So she wants to be able to bank wherever she is, whenever she has time to do it. It needs to be omni-channel, and there's still an element of human element. So some banks have gone really to the extreme of saying, hey, we're all digital, we are lean, there's no cost involved. People still want to have a human relationship. That's what Fatima wants. So let's go through her journey. Some things haven't changed. She's still driving her car. However, one thing that she's noticed is that she's not really having to pay with an artifact, with a card. As she drives through tolls, there's a wallet inside of the car that pays for this. She goes to the charging station, doesn't even need to get out of the car to charge her electric car. And then when she gets into the office, parking is also handled through the wallet inside of the car. Giants, and when I say giants, I'm talking of Amazon, I'm talking of Apple, the big tech companies in the world are present. They are owning the last mile of the relationship. She's kind of wondering, where is the bank? She doesn't really know where her bank is. So she gets into her business, and now she realizes, when she looks around, that there's many machines working before she even arrived, sensors all around that are talking to each other, and there's a vertical ERP. So this system has become really important. It's in the cloud. It's managing her banking relationship. So she's no longer actually connecting onto the online banking platform or onto her mobile app. She relies on everything being integrated into an ERP that can talk what she really needs to the right bank. Because she's sharing all of this information through this ERP, she's able to get a lot better financing. So she's connected to revenue-based and supply chain finance providers that can offer her the deals that she needs whenever she needs them. Finally, she has a lot of payments to make. She's got payments around employee payments, supplier payments, all sorts of payments, and this is all orchestrated on the cloud through a payment platform. As an investor in causes in the past, she got involved in greenwashing. However, things have changed, and now it is safe to invest in sustainable projects. And she's not alone. If I give you a stat, for example, Bank of America has been interviewing high net worth individuals in the US, and 75% of them are investing in sustainable projects. This is compared to the older populations where this number is around 21%. So sustainability is really coming. She wants to invest in new asset classes. This can be all sorts of NFTs, could be any type of digital assets, as well as some others that haven't been available to retail investors, such as private funds, venture capital. And how she's feeling is engaged and guided. In the past, she used to have like a call maybe once a year. She used to have a statement of her wealth. Now she's feeling that she's making a difference, and she knows where her money is going towards making a better world and making her a richer person. So if we sum up Fatima is now sharing data happily, and what she wants to get in exchange for this is contextual insights. She trusts tech, and this allows her to delegate decisions in artificial intelligence. She's open to change, and this will give her choices and ultimately additional freedom. So in order to fulfill this vision that you might share or not share or partly share, what are the moves that we need to make as a bank in order to get there? Let me introduce you to the 3 superpowers. So number 1 is composability. So composability, you might have heard about this concept, but you might not, so I will quickly explain it. So just imagine that your company is built with Lego blocks, loads of little Lego blocks, and you want to try to put them together in order to create something, and it can be anything. So composability in Gartner, we like to see it in 3 different levels. You must be thinking about the most obvious one, which is technology. So what it means on a technology basis is that all of your apps, they need to be connected through APIs, so that they can talk to another, they can talk externally. But it also means in a business architecture, your business needs to be organized in a composable way. And it's not only how the people are organized. Composability needs to be part of the culture. So that's the first superpower. Then there's scalability. So in the past, if you wanted to scale your bank because you had more people, how would you do it? You'd hire more FTE, put them in a call center, or put them in a branch, and that's how you dealt with it. Then came this move towards self-service. I think the future now is going towards the ecosystem. So how can we actually serve through an ecosystem? Finally, adaptability. So it's not only that we're getting customer expectation changes, we're getting customers changing. So I mentioned the Gen Z before, or millennials as well, that they are different types of customers. They're not like the old retired person that has some needs. And think about it from a business perspective. In the past, we didn't have these SaaS companies, So if Uber is banking with us, how are we going to serve them? They have different needs. So in order to apply these 3 superpowers that might feel a bit abstract, we designed 7 strategies. And we're going to go through them now. And as we go through them, I want you to be thinking about these 3 superpowers or capabilities. Think to the different strategies, which of these superpowers applies. Number 1, place architecture at the center of business and the technology strategy. And what's really important here is the word business. In the past, when you talked about APIs, you were talking about technology. But now it's more shifting towards business. So if you're a business stakeholder, you need to understand about APIs. Why? Because in the past we were looking at internal connectivity, but now we're talking about ecosystem, we're talking about external connectivity, and that's when business models change, and that's when the business needs to get involved. Many of you will tell me that you're already investing in APIs. And that's important because our survey shows that 54% of CIOs are increasing their investments in APIs. So that's something that needs to be keep on being reinforced, because the new normal of banking is that Your normal products are not your products anymore. Your product is data. And APIs are this enabler for contextual banking that we were talking before with Fatima, getting all of this data connected from the different industries. And one size doesn't fit all. There's no one easy solution to just say, I'm going to get the best API platform. It's something that needs to be embedded deep into the organization, the API culture, business architecture, and technology. And once you get this data right, once you get the APIs flowing, that's when you can start to talk about AI, when you can start to think about the future, and you can talk to your Alexa or your Siri, and you might be saying, Alexa, please optimize my investment, or when you might be saying, Alexa, please buy me this TV. And Alexa might say, hold on a moment, you wanted to go on this skiing trip. So if you buy that TV, you won't be able to do that this winter holidays. Number 2, co-develop capabilities with fintechs and digital giants. Remove friction. So the truth is that the Amazons of this world, the Apples of this world, are entering the industry. In the past, we were thinking, will they enter? How might they enter? And some people were saying yes, some people were saying no because of the regulation. The fact is that they are entering. So they've knocked on the door, and they're not coming in peace. Same with fintechs. In the past, people were thinking, is it a friend? Is it a foe? So right now, we know that fintechs are growing, they're maturing, they are specializing in certain things. So they're part of the environment. And one interesting thing is that banks have always been very focused on product. So how do I develop my product? And fintechs and the giants, they're looking at experience, which is something very different and something very powerful. So it's important that you guys start to form relationships with them. It's important to partner with them. One of our surveys shows that in commercial banking, it's as likely that commercial banking organizations will deal with a fintech that they will deal with a bank. They find that technology is better in fintech, and they still think that security is more reliable in banking, but things are changing. So I put a picture for this slide of a train. You can see it. But the bank is not on these rails. And this is actually a Japanese train called maglev. They're building them in China as well. And the interesting thing about them is that they levitate on top of magnets. Why? Because they're removing the friction. And by removing the friction, they can achieve speeds of 1,000 kilometers an hour. And the reason why I put this picture here is because the same thing will be happening in banking. There's friction, and if you don't remove it, somebody else will. Number 3, plan for embedded finance. Provide utility in context. So in the past, you think as a bank as providing utility, how? Keeping your money safe, that was the main thing. Maybe even, you could say, making payments. But both of these things are becoming commoditized. So you need to think a bit further than that. So this is going to be achieved through embedded finance, and 40% of banks are already looking at how they can incorporate this into their proposition, getting sources of data from other places, getting offerings like e-commerce offerings from other places. And I think the key message here is that you're more than a bank. And as I see people taking some pictures of the slides, we're going to give you these slides, so so don't worry about that, yeah? You have my word. And come to talk to me if CR2 hasn't obliged. So embedded finance is how people will consume in the future financial services. And remember Bill Gates, how he was saying in 1994, banking is necessary, banks are not. And I'm going to connect that to what we're talking about today, how to make your bank indispensable. So payments will reach a WhatsApp moment. And what do I mean with that? If you think about the telco industry, I used to work in telco industry before. A big source of revenue was SMS messages, MMS messages. A lot of revenue coming through that. But then we started having these different services that went through the internet. Main one, WhatsApp, which actually connects people from different phone providers. And providers cannot charge anymore for SMSs. Similar thing will happen with payments. It will be as easy to send a payment as sending a WhatsApp message. And you cannot charge for that as well. So payments will be supporting other services that will generate revenues. But you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared to consider banking as a service, because every company which has a sizable number of customers wants to become a fintech today, and you can support them by providing the technology, the security, your license. And I'd like you to think super app. Super app is one of the Gartner tendencies for 2023 in technology. So this is embracing non-financial capabilities to deliver rich contextual products and services. It's thinking your bank as offering different things that your customer actually need, your customer actually values, and it adds stickability to your platform. Number 4, focus on your sustainability strategy. Customers and regulators drive the agenda. And I think my favorite example of this is the Alipay ant forest. Does anybody know about this example in the crowd? No? Yes? A few in the back? So people talk about China as polluting, making the, the world a worse place. However, some companies are really working, and customers are really working on making the world a cleaner place. And what have they done? They already planted more than 300 million trees, and this is all based in the activities of the customers. It started by tracking some financial transactions, but they track all sorts of things around their app. For example, if you're taking a ride on one of those ride-share schemes, if you're avoiding using your own car and going on the train, on the tube, on the metro, they're tracking all of this information. And as you track this information, Ant Financial, Alipay, yeah, in Ant Financial, they are actually planting trees. Well, they're actually giving people choices. Yeah, one of them is planting trees, and they've planted more than 300 million of these trees. And the cool thing is that they not only plant it, through satellite imagery, you can actually see your tree. So people can actually own their trees. You can see somebody has planted 20, and then they start competing to plant more trees, and they are real trees. So for me, that's a great example. So you need to incorporate ESG into your model. The other important thing, when we talk about ESG, it needs to go deep into your processes. For example, you need to be considering this in your pricing when you're giving a loan. What's the risk of this loan? And research has shown that products that have created using ESG elements, they command a higher price. Why? Because people want these products. People are really demanding for them. And also companies that are ESG friendly, they end up having a higher valuation than companies that are not ESG. This is coming out of our research. Strategy number 5, and please hold on with me, we only have 2 more to go. So number 5 is around grow your cloud. Security, ease of implementation, and oversight are maturing. So we all know that the cloud is being accepted, so at the board level. So looking at different types of cloud is important. You might be in different parts of your journey. Some people might still be thinking, hey, this is too risky. Some others are not. But this is something that is coming. One of our trends in Gartner 2023 is called industry cloud, which is actually going a bit beyond the standard cloud. So first we have infrastructure as a service, then we have platform as a service, then we got SaaS, yeah, software as a service. The next step, the next evolution of this is actually creating something which is specific for industries. And this is already happening in financial services. There are suppliers, such as Microsoft, that they are joining up with big banks to create a platform that can help smaller banks. And this will include all of these elements of platform, infrastructure, software, but it will also be holding data. And this can be really, really powerful when you can utilize other people's data in order to take better decisions. So it's a trend that is really coming and something that you need to jump on board. It's important to start experimenting with moving things that are not critical if you're not feeling like moving your core banking on day one. But it's important because you will understand there are some talent shortages and some things that you need to learn through your journey. And that brings me to number 6, adopt a flexible approach when sourcing tech talent. So right now there's a moment of arbitrage in the industry when some companies are adjusting their workforce. So there's an opportunity to get some extra talent that is good. However, what we see over the next 5 years is that talent will keep on being a challenge, IT talent in banking industry. And this is something that you need to address. And some changes come from your approach towards how you hire people. Do you need people to have a title? What we think is that it's really important to look at soft skills more than a title. This is what's really important. And we're seeing the role of the company shifting from pure banking into more of an IT company. So hiring for IT skills is really important. And we see the role of the CIO shifting towards more of a business role, more of a business function. Number 7, and I'm sure some of you were asking, so you're talking about the future, but you're not talking about the metaverse, you're not talking about blockchain. So we are covering this. But we want you to avoid the hype. Yes, and when I say the hype, this is what everybody's talking about, but does it bring business value? Does it bring a bang on your back? Does it bring a ROI? So it's important that you keep this in your radar and start to experiment with it. Does that mean that you're going to invest billions in it? No, I wouldn't say so. But one of our strategic planning assumptions is by 2026, 30% of the organizations in the world will have products and services which have been adapted to the metaverse. So it's really good to start to innovate this. And you might be thinking, how can I do this? Well, you can think about experiments around intraverse. And when we talk about intraverse, we're talking about inside of your enterprise, doing meetings, for example, in metaverse style, etc. So just a bit of experimentation to make sure that these technologies are there and you need to learn about them. But it doesn't mean putting all of your investment into these sources. And similar with blockchain, we see stablecoin as being a solid tool that can really help in transactions, especially in cross-border transactions. So you need to start looking at things like, how can I do custody services for blockchain? Though the industry is a bit shaky still. If you look at the news this week around Binance and the acquisition of FTX, which is not really happening, it's something that you need to take in mind, but invest cautiously. That's what I would say. So now that we're coming up to round this up, we talked about the 3 superpowers: composability, scalability, and adaptability, that you can link onto 7 strategies: APIs, partnering, embedded finance, sustainability, cloud, talent, metaverse, and decentralized finance. So if you keep this attitude of wonder towards the future, I'm sure that you can have a real impact inside of your organization so that your bank can remain indispensable. Thank you very much.